Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation, looking for the stabilizing syllability. What is sensorality? So again, just moving through the derivation, picking up where we left off. Sensorality is the theme of rhythm, right? That THM at the end of rhythm, right? Sensorality is rhythm. Theme plus rhythm, theme. Nice. Again, doesn't matter, just trying to get the letters. The concept's in the right place and then the letters will fall out. But we're iterating the letters. What is iteration to rhythm? Right, when you're trying to do some process as efficiently as possible, you form a rhythm. That iteration of differentiation, like things change and form shape. So what's the optimum? Again, kind of back to the intuition. The things that roll the best are not spheres. So iteration, kind of like the linguistic logical representation of inversion, this inversion process, really what creates differentiation, like how you can physically be different than something else, right? We have the proton and the electron being inverses. Reiteration reinforces. So iteration forces, just taking off the re. Again, logically, right, that's a step where it's very clear the logic of reiteration reinforces. If you say something over and over again, you're reinforcing it. And then we just literally take off the RE. What is shape to space, right? Mass stabilizes. Charge is a stabilized dynamic. Mass is this emergent property. It is definite. But that stabilization of that dynamic is, again, creating volume. And so, right, shape creates space. Space is geometric. What is a metric to space? Arithmeticality is geometric. And so again, kind of getting to a natural definition, and at this point, again, really a natural definition is anything that uses just like it modifies logic, but the linguistics are similar enough where it's, again, just a direct iteration with sometimes there's more letters, sometimes there's less letters, but just like a close enough linguistical structure. But I was playing around with this, like pronunciation-wise, right? Arithmeticality is how that word presents itself, but it spells out arithmeticality. And so again, is counting, right? Arithmetic to me is counting. But it's like, again, if you count most efficiently, you form a rhythm, right? When we say the alphabet, every single one of us has learned the alphabet through like a sing-song kids thing. And so arithmetic is rhythmic. Something just kind of popped up there, but again, a variable, a linguistical representation, a word that can have two different pronunciations. And so back to this preservation of pronunciation, again, clearly base words, when you're conjugating a verb, you're preserving the base sound. And again, that's the association sound to meaning. Again, just talking through any logic that presents. But arithmeticality or arithmeticality is geometric. Arithmeticality is geometricality. Arithmeticality is metricality. Again, directly connecting a metric, which is, if you're in physics or mathematics, that's a big word, and then arithmetic, direct iterations. Sensorality is geometricality. Algorithmicality is geometricality, right? Algorithms are set. It's a set procedure, and the set part, the fixed part, is coming from our physical bounds. Algorithms execute. Arithmeticality is meticulous. Now taking the linguistic form and then expanding out to a different, again, logic. All right, if you're doing arithmetic, you should be meticulous, but it's a direct differentiation of the sound and the letters. That is a natural definition. Sensorality is meticulous. Scrutiny is meticulous. Scrutiny, security. Sensorality scrutinizes. Sensorize, scrutinize. Mutiny overthrows. Look at me using a hyphen. Sensorality is mutinous. Mutinous is rebellious. Sensorality rebels. Rebel, repel. Again, this another manifestation of this geometric relationship between the B and the P shape. Again, logically similar, but we've, again, rotated or, again, flipped. We've inverted the B to a P, and we have rebel to repel. Censorship repels. Repellent rejects. Censorship rejects. Rejection censors. Sensorality is decision making. That was another intuitive thing that came to me on one of my walks. But again, decision making, oh, Gus agrees. So we have some good input from there. We're gonna try to keep going. But decision making is again another term people use all of the time, and it's naturally and properly hyphenated. And so let's pause and see if we can calm down Mr. Barkey. And we're back from our doggy break. And so what I was saying is decision making, again, another linguistic form where you naturally put a hyphen correctly, and it's something we say all of the time, but like why? Why do we have this forced, unnatural decision making, right? But regardless, we just flip the logic. Sensorality makes decisions, right? Censorship is decision making. If you choose to do one thing as opposed to the other, you're censoring. Sensorality makes decision dimension. Sensorality shakes. Are diphthongs syllables? So another part of my educational content that I'm going to be definitely bolstering quite a bit is the reading in different languages, just a personal exercise that I enjoy. But when I'm, again, reading through like the Cyrillic alphabet, I would say probably 70% of the diphthongs, maybe 80, but it's just, again, logically presented, like what is a diphthong? You have two vowels that kind of like blend into one single sound. Again, why physically does that happen? Some aspect of discreteness, some aspect of elementality. You know, you have a defined up-down slot, right? Things are discrete. Density is definite. But what is a syllable, right? A syllable is a unit of sound. And diphthongs are units of sound, but like vowels, and it's like when two vowels or two resonants blend together to make a unique sound. Are diphthongs syllables? Again, presenting any logic, any question that arises throughout this derivation process. Arithmetic is syllabilic. Sensorality is syllabilicality. I know we've derived that part, but connecting arithmetic to syllabilic, right? If you're putting syllables in order, that's arithmetic, right? When spelling a word is arithmetic. So spelling is arithmetic. Are syllables infinitesimals? Right? We have a dx. It's a finite amount of space. Space is geometric. Geometric is represented by letters. Are syllables infinitesimals? Again, just the most basic, irreducible unit of sound, or representation of sound. What am I calling a syllable? The sound or the letters? But again, presenting the logic that presents to me. Energy requires space. Here's some hot takes in physics. But right, energy, the capacity to do work. We've proven that more specifically, the capacity for movement. The potential for movement, I guess most correctly. And then work requires movement. So, right, energy requires space, meaning to have the potential for movement, you have to have some sort of discrepancy. You have to have room to move. Space is discrepancy. Discrepancy is distance. Separation from equilibrium. Discrepancy is separation. Space is separation. And so energy requires space. I'm sure that's going to raise some hairlines in the physics world, but it's true. Right? Energy, the potential for movement. You can't move if there's no space to move through. Nice. That's a hot, zesty physics theorem. But work requires space, right? If you can't move, you can't do work. And if you can't have space to move, you can't do work. Work requires space. Movement requires space. Reduction distills. And so we can be on with our Professor Terrence Tao. Hey man, again, I'm working towards my completeness. 100% correct. Which, by the way, Terry, I'm waiting for your complete math proof, buddy. Oh, so when you guys say complete math proof, it has to be 100% correct. I'm like, and then you're like, imagine, here's an equation sign. It's like extreme limitation of all logic. But I will hold myself to Professor Terrence Tao's great mathematical standard of 100% proof. But in his SARE project, or again, whatever, he's like that. It seems to be like he's the celebrity. Oh, Terrence Tao, everybody knows him. And then a bunch of technology kind of backers who, again, are all running companies that are stealing my intellectual property. That's going to be a huge lawsuit that you're not going to have the capital to finance. That's going to be a fun one. But anyway, they're talking about in this challenge or whatever we referenced yesterday. He says distillation, right? Reduction distills. Whether you're with Terence Tao distilling, again, reducing, balsamic reductions in the kitchen if you're a chef, but reduction distills. And so I was thinking the balsamic reduction, but then I saw the SARE project and they say distill. But, you know, boiling it down to its basic ingredients, its elementality. And so we are trying to reduce, we're not trying to do anything. We're just continuing the logic until we get to the stabilizing syllability of sensorality. And then the overall derivation process is going to continue. And I'm gonna put up a nice video on the internet, but the amount of videos and proofing I've put up on the internet, it's like, when do I get paid is the only thing I'm actually trying to do on a personal level. Besides that, the derivation just progresses. But reduction distills, knowledge is information. Structure formalizes. So the big G word, grammar. Look at all of that symmetry in grammar. Grammar. Common denominator is grammar. But again, my rights continue to be violated. It is profoundly and extensively illegal. There was some good. The energy requires space. That is 100% true. And it's that was zesty. That felt zesty. I'm sure the physicist out there, Sean Carroll's gonna be like, nah, dude, my Everettian quantum state mini worlds, dark energy, rhythm's not real, even though it's literally everyone blurts it out every 2 seconds. But I'm gonna go find the dark matter super energy with my triple collider. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.